This is Simply Safety version 6 General Movie 2 for all users. By the end of this movie, you should be able to describe the main software components of the program, describe the main relationships between companies, people, regions, and sites, apply software updates, interpret data on the opening screen, identify the main modules, recognize mandatory data fields, add, edit, and delete custom drop-down box information, recognize customized labels, recognize alerting expiry fields, and describe the operation of the Simply Safety Alert program. There are three general components to the Simply Safety program. The part of Simply Safety you see and work with is called the front-end client. It is usually installed to the computers of each person that uses the program. For most persons, all their work will be done from the Simply Safety front end. The Simply Safety database normally sits on a database server. Also in this server is a directory called images. When you link a document to Simply Safety, for example, link a scanned training certificate to a person, a copy of the document gets loaded into the images folder. A secondary program called Simply Safety Alert sits on another computer and has a connection to the database. This program just monitors the database for expiring items and sends email alerts to selected persons. Your safety manager normally sets up and maintains this program. You would not normally need to have access to it. Before we get started working with the program, it may help you to understand general relationships between things. In Simply Safety, people belong to a company. Simply Safety tracks different companies. Companies are either the primary company, which is probably your company, only one of those exists. It can be a subsidiary company or a subcontractor type company. In Simply Safety, physical sites belong to regions, and people may be located or move between any region and site. Keep in mind that people always belong to a company, and sites always belong to a region, even though those labels may be changed from region and site to location and department and something else. Also, a person may belong to one region and site, but they may have an incident when they're at another region and site. When you're logging into Simply Safety and when you're on the security login screen, you may be presented with information on the left-hand side of the screen that indicates that a software upgrade is available. If so, click on the silver button to begin the software upgrade. Be patient as it goes through various steps to upgrade your software front-end client. Wait a few minutes while the software upgrade is downloaded and installed. This process can take several minutes. If you're prompted to close a process, click on the Close Process button. It wants to shut down the Simply Alert program so it can update its files. At the end, you'll see a form saying the update is successful. Click the Finish button and the security login screen will be represented. Number on the left side of the login form, a new release date, and new features have been added to the Simply Safety program. When the program opens, you're looking at the GPS screen. The GPS screen may look very different for your company. When you click on any of the red dots, it opens up to a summary box on the screen. For this particular site, Edmonton, there's 7 active people, 10 inactive people. There's no training due now or for the next 30 days. And this site has been injury-free for the last 15 days. If I click on the Events tab, it shows us the most recent events that have been added to this database. We can see there's 3 injuries and 1 damage and 2 security incidents have been added. To close this form, just click on the X in the upper right corner. Clicking on the Graphs tab will give you a quick overview of graphs for injuries, damages, and corrective actions. Note that the information on the graphs form may be restricted by any region and site security restriction that you have. Just click on the radio button for damages or corrective actions to view information in those different categories. Rolling your mouse over the graph may reveal more information. To hide years from the graph, deselect the year. To select a specific date range, select the dates using the calendars. To redraw the graph, click the Redraw Graph button. To print it, click the Print button. The Events tab is a read-only screen that shows the most recent events that have been added to the database. Again, these events may be restricted by your personal security restrictions. They do include an incident description, and it's a good idea when you're typing in an incident description not to include any privacy data in that particular field. For instance, we wouldn't want to put a person's name here or any kind of personal information. Just to familiarize you with the program, I'm going to roll my mouse over all of the menu items and just briefly describe them and point out the most important ones. Keep in mind that Simply Safety is an all-in-one program, and there's almost no company that uses all of the modules. You just use what you need. Under the main menu item, People, the main item here is People. This is the main module. The next four modules are subsets of People. Absenteeism, Vacation, you can consider these modules quick entry schemes for people. This is where you can enter absenteeism and vacation, driver's license information, personal protective equipment that's issued to people, and medical tests. Respirator is a specialized module for testing specific types of respirator fit tests. Under Training, the main module is the Training Control Center. Courses is really just a list of your courses. Classes is a list of your classes. Training Do is a very important module. It will contain a full listing of all the training you've ever done in your company, ultimately, including training courses as well as toolbox meetings, which are entered somewhere in another module. Certifications is a way of separately tracking certifications such as journeyman status certificates. Evaluations is a very specialized module that is used to evaluate the effectiveness of classroom instructors. Under Incidents, at injury, you could consider a first aid form quick entry screen. For instance, your first aid people may be restricted by team security so that they can only access this form to enter first aid. After first aid is entered, it will appear in the Injuries module. Injuries is a listing of all the injuries. If the injury becomes a claim, and there's a checkbox checked off in the Injuries module, the injury moves also into the Claims module. Exposures for tracking items like bloodborne exposures for healthcare organizations. Damage modules for tracking property damage incidents, and Security is for tracking security incidents such as theft, bullying, violence, etc. Workplace contains 5 modules, including Corrective Actions. Corrective Actions is a very important and central module in Simply Safety. It has connections to other modules. For instance, when you're adding an injury or first aid or a property damage or security incident, you may choose to add a corrective action at that time. That corrective action will ultimately show up in the Corrective Actions module. The calendar is an audit trail of incidents that have occurred in the past. Documents is a way to store your policies and procedures for safety. Please note that you can now link documents into almost all of the other Simply Safety modules, so this module has become less important. MSDS is a way to track the location and expiry dates of material safety data sheets, and Vehicles and Equipment is a way to track the basic information on vehicles and equipment. There are various types of inspection modules. Air quality is used to track the quality of air sampling. Fire extinguishers tracks the location and expiry dates of the small fire extinguishers that hang in your buildings or in your vehicles. Job inventory and hazard analysis are used together to do a job hazard analysis by job title. Inspections is your main module for tracking inspections, and safety observations is used to track safety observations amongst your personnel. There's 2 types of graphing modules. Simple Graphs includes quick drop-down pre-built graphs. Power Graphs is a more powerful graphing module that you can customize. Plant Statistics is a way of producing frequency and severity statistics by one location. And site statistics allows companies such as construction companies to compare frequency and severity statistics across multiple locations. Meetings contains general meetings and toolbox meetings. Here's a tip about toolbox meetings. If you organize your people in the people module under a toolbox group, you can quickly add training history for people through the toolbox meeting module. We'll cover this later in another movie on this specific module. Companies is a way of tracking your company and any other companies that you may track or employ, such as subsidiary companies and subcontractor companies. Company log is just a module that's used as a convenient way of tracking items that occur for your company or for other companies. There's many sort of items that occur that are somewhat difficult to track. A new policy or procedure is implemented, a new piece of equipment is purchased, something major happens at the company. Visitor screening is a way of screening employees and contractors off your sites if their company is not approved in the company's module and if their training is not up to date in the training module. Under setup is team security. This allows you to set security levels and access to modules for different security teams and to create your own security teams. Add edit user is where you add users that you're going to allow to log into Simply Safety and assign to a security team. Change user, you can click on change user if you want to allow another user to log into your version of Simply Safety. Email notifications is a module that sends a quick email notification to specific people when an injury, damage, corrective action, or inspection is added to Simply Safety. Check for updates is just a quick link that you can click on to check to see if there's an updated version of Simply Safety available. The setup module is used to set up a Simply Safety application, and it's usually only for access by the IT department or for the safety manager. The proper way to quit Simply Safety is to click on the quit button at the bottom of the screen. The menus are generally organized in the way that most companies tend to use them the most, starting with People module at the top, Training Control Center at the top, Incidents, First Aid Entry and Injuries and Claims, Workplace Corrective Actions, and Inspections and Meetings. Those are probably the top 6 or 7 modules in use. Companies, not so often used. Setup, rarely used once the program is set up. If you're the typical user, most of your time is going to be spent up in the top 3 or 4 items. I've just opened up the People module for employee Bob, and I want to show you several features. Keep in mind that we're looking at demo data. None of this data is real. When we open up this form, we can see that some of these fields are bolded and some of them are not. The ones that are bolded are mandatory information. On this particular form, first name, last name, company, region, and site are mandatory information. The rest of the fields are optional but recommended. The second thing that I'd like you to notice is that there's many drop-down fields in this program. For instance, job title is a drop-down. So I'm going to click the drop-down and I can pick any kind of a job title. Now if I don't see what I want in there, if you have the proper security permissions, you can double-click on these fields and quickly add them. So I'm just going to double-click in the field. And that opens up this form. Job title clerical, which is 1 item in the list, item 1 out of 9 in the list. Now to add a new job title, I just click on the add button. And then I can type in whatever job title that I want to add. Make sure that it's not already in the list before you add it. Then click Save. Now when I go back to the drop down, my job title that I've just added is right at the top of the list. Keep in mind that you have to have this proper security permissions in order to do that. If you double click on the fields and they don't open, it's because your security is not set high enough in the Team Security module. There's 2 other things I'd like to draw your attention to. Some of the labels in various modules, especially the People module, such as this Toolbox Group label, can be changed by your safety manager. So these labels are dynamic and may look different from what you're seeing on this screen. Just be aware of that. Also, you'll notice a canary yellow field to the left. Any canary yellow field in Simply Safety feed into the Simply Safety Alert Expiry Tracking program. So the Simply Safety Alert program is looking for expired dates in these canary yellow fields, and that's the specific reason for the canary yellow coloring. Okay, I've just opened up the Simply Safety Alert program just so you know what it is and what it does. This is a program that's used generally only by the safety manager, and it monitors the expiry of those canary yellow fields in Simply Safety. It looks at expiry dates, sends automatic email reports to people such as managers on what's expiring. Chances are you will not be directly involved in the Simply Safety Alert program. Just be aware that those canary yellow fields in Simply Safety feed directly into this program. In this movie, we have covered the main software components of the program, the main relationship between companies, peoples, regions, and sites, applying software updates, interpreting data on the opening screen, the main modules, mandatory data fields, adding custom drop-down box information, custom labels, alerting expiry fields, and the operation of the Simply Safety Alert program.